Okay, this is a Mongol versus Delhi game. As an exception, I'm doing a voiceover of this matchup instead of actually doing a first-person VOD. Um, just because this was a tournament game, so it's a very high-level game, right? So I think there's a lot of value casting this, and since most of the games are already first-person, I don't think there's anything lost in that regard here. And maybe this allows me to be a bit more precise with the casting, right? We will see. So this is Mongol versus Delhi. Right now, I would say this matchup uh, is a bit better for Mongols than it is for Delhi, even though most people may or some players may not agree with this statement. I do believe Mongols has the edge here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tower rush here, and from then on I will just move into trade really quickly. Like it's not very heavy on trade what I'm going to do, but just enough so that my income is better than my opponent, while at the same time I deny the sides, right? So Mongol is one of the few ships that can invest into economy as they have enough to stop the secret sites, just because of the initial pressure that you put on your opponent with a tower rush, and the fact that you can spend all your stone in extra archers, but which combined with the attack speed arrow are really are quite powerful in a fight, right? Because for 5 seconds your archers are better than your opponent, like the Delhi archers, which is really great. So at the beginning I'm only trying to find like as many sheep as I can, just enough so I don't idle the TC. But you can see the balance here. The balance I'm aiming for in order to make a spearman tower rush. And in this matchup, your goal is never to tower rush the gold, simply because currently Delhi doesn't really mine gold. So instead, you want to place your tower either in berries or in their woodline, ideally in both of them, or in such a way that you deny multiple food sources, right? So the second I scouted these two berry packs in like place like this, I already knew that my tower was going to be here regardless of how his base looks like. You don't want to be too greedy with the tower, like you don't want to place it too close to the opponent, because there's a chance he can get a deny with the villagers, right? Okay, so I'm slightly behind in workers. That's normal as Mongols, just because your TC starts unpacked, right? So you start your production later than your opponent. Okay. Some Delhi players may try to prevent your tower from going up, especially if they have rushed a second scholar. Like I think he's going for a second scholar, but it's not the fastest that you can get. So yeah, I don't think he should be pulling villagers. Like this tower, I've placed it very safely. Like if it was, let's say, 10 tiles more to the north, like here, then maybe this could be a potentially a good move because your TC kind of covers your villagers and it's quite easy to micro back and forth. But with my positioning here, I think this is a mistake, as we will see now, right? Yeah, simply because my tower is far enough that his TC is not protecting his villagers, so I get a lot of space to chase. And losing any villager is like the idle time is already damaging to your economy, but losing any villager is huge here. So he's already lost one. I think I may even get another one, potentially the scout as well. So he really wants to prevent the tower from going up, but I can just micro my villager back, right, and attack his villagers. So I've killed two villagers here. I think it's been two plus the scout, right? So I'm ahead. And despite all the idle time, my tower still goes up, right? So this is already a rough start for my opponent. Now I'm gonna be focusing on aging up. Like usually you want at least 5 spearmen. I made 2 extra ones, just in case, because it felt like he was really pulling tons of villagers, and I definitely wanted to have enough to protect the tower. So now I'm aging up. I think this timing, considering I went for a tower rush, is quite solid. And now this mill is out of range of the TC, I believe, right? I'm checking it right now. So first I will send one spearman. If the spearman can attack from far enough, like I know I won't be attacked by the TC, I will send more spearmen to to destroy this building and get the bounty, of course, right? He doesn't have archers yet, and even if he had one archer, I would just micro back to the tower, but I would definitely always go for this mill kill. So Sanctity is finishing around 7:15 for him. It's a normal timing, I would say. You don't necessarily want to rush it too much against... You don't need to rush it too much against Mongols because you have to deal with the tower before you can go out in the map, right? So also, in a way, this tower also denies these two secret sites. At the very least, more like the middle one for sure, right? Because it's really awkward when you have to rally units into... Because if we're fighting in the middle and he has to rally units, his units will move by the tower, right? So they will get picked up. Like it's really awkward to place a shift click with to shift queue your units so they move around, and it takes so long for them to get to the fight that these delaying your reinforcements will allow the Mongol player to win the fights most likely, even if nothing has happened. So even more in this situation where he's lost 2 to 3 villagers already. So now notice I'm getting traders, but I'm not using stone in them. Like it's really important to use your stone in archers here. Like even if I add a horseman at some point, I don't think I will use stone on them. I think I will just use the stone for the archers. Like it's the most, especially when you have already some spearmen in the field. Like it's really hard for the Delhi player to go into horsemen when their opponent already has like 6 spearmen, right? So I feel like archers is definitely the play here for me. And once I had a big enough archer bola, I can also go into horsemen. I was sending a villager to the bottom right corner. Oh no, I'm sending the landmark here. So yeah, I'm not going to be too greedy about the trade. Like I'm not going to move my landmark right next to the neutral market and then get another market for trading more efficiently. Like I just want to have this very slight income every now and then from trade, just so I'm slightly better in terms of economy, right? But you don't want to overinvest in this against Delhi. Like the Delhi player is going to be aggressive sooner or later. He's going to go for the sacred sites. So you definitely don't want to be too greedy against it. That's yeah, like few traders, like 2, 3, 4 traders, something like that. This game, I decided to go for slightly more traders, I think, just because of the very good early game that I had, and because this tower positioning is really good for me. Like just kicking him out of the first berry pack already slows the Delhi player quite a bit. Like berries are way better than sheep for them. And then, since I've damaged some villagers earlier in the game, I'm going to look for potential kills, especially because he has no vision of this zone because of my tower, right? So it's really hard for him to expect these things until the archers are already moving in. Like it's really hard for him to have a proper reaction. So this is what made me decide to go for this play, because with the tower I was seeing low HP villagers, and I know like he cannot have a scout here because of my tower, right? So even if he reacts really quickly, I still manage to get one more pick. So I'm already 5 economy units ahead. Even if I lost one archer, that's perfectly fine for me. And now, one more benefit of forcing this kind of situation where your opponent does not have horsemen and is stuck inside their base is the fact that they cannot put any kind of pressure in your villagers. So what I'm going to do, as you see in the minimap, is I'm simply going for both my deer packs at the same time. I even snipe one more villager there. So at this point the game is looking really hard for my opponent already, right? Really important to go for the deer. And like I don't need to leave any spearmen defending, not even make any tower, because I know he doesn't have horsemen. And I'm constantly seeing his army in his base, right? Plus the fact that as a daily player he's going to go for the sides, right? He's not going to send a squad of archers running the entire map. And if that happened, I have wheelbarrows, so I will lose one villager if anything, and I will be perfectly fine, right? Like that's not an issue in this matchup, and in this scenario for me as a mobile player. So now, yeah, all the stone will go into archers, and I will get some horsemen. With this tower, what I'm like the goal for this tower is to try to kill as many archers as possible, and then try to save as many spearmen as possible. But the spearmen are not too valuable here for me because he has no horsemen. So I felt that it was just good to leave them on the tower for as long as possible and just kill as many archers from him. Right? Like lowering his archer count here, I feel is really valuable for me. Because now he cannot really, like he's killing the tower, so he may go into this berry bush, which is good for him. But he still does not have any chance to contest the sacred sites. And I'm 7 economic units ahead, which should be, I would like 4 traders, 4 or 5 traders, nothing more than that. Plus the villagers I managed to snipe, right? So it's really important to never get overwhelmed by the daily player. Like, do not try to age up now as the Mongol player. Just make sure you keep producing units. Maybe even adding more production will be fine. Blacksmith upgrades, of course, really important. He's just finishing his first one, whereas I will finish my second one by the time he finishes his first one. Just killing the spearmen so my horsemen can actually engage. I don't necessarily need to put this much pressure on him, like I can just wait for him to move to the sacred side. But I just felt that by putting this pressure, it's hard for him to go into the berry bushes because I can snipe any villager, right, at any given point, and you really don't want to bleed villagers at all, especially when you are in this situation already. I think I may have a few more traders, yeah, just every now and then. Like, just again, your main focus, your main goal is to never have a smaller army than your opponent. As long as that's true, you can invest, like slightly invest into other things. Like for instance, I only have 2 eco upgrades. I have like 6 traders. As soon as I notice a very low spearman count, I just dive into his army. And yeah, look at the army count is always slightly, like I'm always slightly ahead. I don't necessarily look for, like I don't want to go for a kill here. Like I'm not going to dive his base. I'm just like whenever I see like I have a favorable trade, a potential favorable trade, I will just go for it, right? And also this amount of pressure, like any, see I try to, like as soon as I could I try to snipe a villager, any villager kill for me, like here is amazing. But don't overextend. Like realistically, I think the only way that I can lose this game is if I lose my army and he gets sacred sites. Like my plan now has to be keep doing what I'm doing, be a style ahead an army, keep looking for favorable trades, especially until he gets his upgrades, his archer upgrades. Get the deer, get this deer, potentially even go for this boar later on. And at some point they age up. But you should never age up if you think there's a risk your opponent can overwhelm you. Like let's say I try to age up right now, there's a chance you could win a fight, get a sacred site wallet, and the game becomes much harder for me. So you will notice I'm even adding more production because I really don't want him. I really don't want to lose an engagement. Also, of course, never like if he's not building horsemen, I will never build a single more spearman besides the initial ones. This spearman is just to check these food sources. I want to make sure he's not getting those for free. I have the mobility here with the horsemen, so I could, like if I saw 5 villagers here, I would just immediately move with the horsemen. And then if he tries to get a sacred site as I'm raiding, I will collapse on his army. So the army supply is kinda even, but it's pure archer against horseman archer. Then again, if he moves out and he doesn't have this upgrade, I will for sure go for a trade. See, I'm getting close towards an age up, but after checking both armies, I realized this could be a favorable trade for me. Favorable trade. Like, you don't want to overextend with the horseman, but yeah, just keep trading. If you don't think it's if you're not too sure about the trade, then just back and so on. I wait here now in the forest just so my horseman can cross the distance without being hit as much. And this could be a potential scholar snipe here if I'm very close. Killing the scholars is massive because as a daily player, when you're not mining gold, it can be really hard to replenish them. So I think eventually I get this kill. So yeah, now like the army supply is even, but I'm already aging up. I feel like these traders have made a lot of have given me tons of resources. I still haven't spent anything on pastures, right? Because I'm still on the gathering the food in the map with survival techniques, of course. So once I age up, I think this game is really over. Like I can just spam knights and get the veteran archer upgrade. And with just feudal archers, there's realistically not much he can do here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's against Delhi in general, and with Mongols in particular, it's just really important to always have enough army to contest the Delhi army and try to get slightly ahead in economy somehow. Like more often than not, you won't be able to kill villagers, right? But there are other ways to get ahead. As for instance, if I'm in deer and he's on sheep and stuff like that. So trying this format for some of the videos in the series. Let's see how useful this one was.